Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Make a Destination. My name is Amanda and this is where I help you make it to your destination. I feel like I say this every video, but I just want to apologize for the inconsistency in posting. Balancing school, an internship, and a job has been a lot on my plate, so now that school is over, I'm hoping to be more consistent. I'm thinking I'm either going to post every Sunday or Tuesday, or maybe, if we're lucky, 2 times a week, who knows. But thank you so much for your support. We are coming up almost on, I think, our 1-year anniversary of the creation of Make a Destination. So I just want to say thank you so much for your continued support, for your comments, your input. If you want more Make a Destination, follow me on Instagram. This experience has been really intriguing and interesting, and I've been liking posting new videos on YouTube. So I don't think I've done a story time since the creation of Make a Destination. So I think this is the perfect time to do it. The holidays are literally around the corner. And I just came back from Philadelphia. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because I don't think I've ever felt this unsafe in a city setting or during my travels ever in my life. And I've been to multiple cities. I've been to New York, Boston, Providence, Miami, Los Angeles, San Diego. All of them have their pros and cons. All of them have their different scenes. And I've been to Philadelphia before, but I think because of the ill effects of the pandemic, a lot of cities are seeing increases in crime. And as a traveler, this is nerve-wracking because, especially in the US, we're not allowed really to go anywhere else. I think we're considered a high-risk zone to many other countries. So even if you are vaccinated, you either need a test, you need to pay a fee, you can't even go. So a lot of people have turned to domestic travel. But the scary part is, because of the ill effects from the pandemic, crime has been increasing in many cities in the US. And I want to talk about my experience in Philadelphia because I want to be transparent with my subscribers, my viewers, and let you know that travel isn't always just the beautiful pictures on Instagram that we see, right? People smiling, people eating these beautiful bowls of fruit on the beach. Travel is not that. Travel is all-encompassing. Travel is somewhere where we learn about society, what's going on. And I really want to tell you about my experience and then kind of what research I did in order to match what I went through with what's going on in society in the US. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. And make sure you don't forget to like it, comment, and let me know, have you dealt with increased crime in your city when you've traveled domestically within the past 2 years in the US? Have you seen an increase in crime? Do you feel unsafe? And make sure you hit that notification bell so that you never miss one of my videos. So let's get to it. Okay, as I was editing, I realized that I forgot to put a disclaimer. So the disclaimer here is I'm going to be talking about some violent incidents that went on in this story time. If you are sensitive to this type of information, I would not watch this video. Again, I don't show any clips. I just kind of describe what happened. But again, there are some descriptions of some violent events that went on. So make sure that you know that. I just want to make sure that you know that before you watch this video. So thank you. For this story time, I'm just going to let you know why I chose Philadelphia. Lately, I've been wanting to go to more raves and concerts. I told myself during the pandemic that I was going to make sure that if there's somebody that I wanted to see or a rave that I wanted to go to, that I would actually go, because the lockdown taught me that you never know when your last opportunity is going to be available. And you should take that up because you're going to regret not going rather than regretting going. Sam and I went to Philadelphia to see Chris Lake on Friday and to see Getter on Saturday. I've been dabbling with the idea of reviewing venues because I feel like in the EDM or just music world in general, it's hard to know which venues are really good for music and which ones are not. And to add on to that, I think in EDM, it's not about the seating because a lot of venues are just for the floor, but I would like to know, is there room to dance? Do they pack it in too much? Are there stairs where people are passing by you? So if you want to see that, maybe a venue review. I really liked the Av Live in Philly. It was a lot of fun. Let me know. But anyways, so we went from Philadelphia from Thursday to Sunday. And we left late on Thursday night because we both had to work during the day. I'm driving to Philadelphia. It's about a 4-hour drive from upstate New York. And we leave at 9 p.m. We were tired. We want to eat, shower, pack, make sure we have everything. So we drive. and we booked an Airbnb. And you know that I've hyped up Airbnb on my YouTube channel. I feel like you get more bang for your buck. You're usually in a cooler area. So we wanted to be near the venue, so we decided to stay near Northern Liberties, which is about, I think, like a 10-minute walk to the venue. We get to Northern Liberties, and I forget how narrow the roads are in historic northeastern cities, right? Like Philadelphia and Boston, even some parts of New York, but mainly Philly and Boston have very tight and narrow streets. It's only street parking for this Airbnb, which is unfortunate because I'm driving around and around and around, and I'm tired. I just drove for 4 hours. It's 1 a.m. I'm looking and looking and looking. Can't find a spot. I'm on this extremely narrow road where it's literally parked, like parallel parking, your car where you could drive through, it's a one-way, and a sidewalk. And a cop pulls up behind me, and they put on their sirens, or their lights and the sirens. I'm like, oh my God. I'm getting pulled over in Philadelphia. I just got here, and now I'm gonna get a ticket. But again, like I said, the road is extremely narrow. So I'm pulling up and trying to get on the sidewalk, like kind of near these garages. And I'm like, the cop is still waiting. And I'm like, I'm trying to get up here. Like, thank God I have a Civic that's small, because if I had like a huge truck, it would be horrible. I'm like getting ready to get pulled over. Then he passes me. I'm like, okay, like maybe you just didn't feel like being behind a slow New Yorker. Okay, fine. Sam and I finally find a spot. We're trying to look at the street signs to see like what the parking rules are. At this point, we honestly don't care. And the kind of vibe we get in Northern Liberties is there's the new and the old. We see these like brand new, beautiful townhouses. In my opinion, they're probably worth like $500,000. Beautiful townhouses or row homes, whichever. Very beautiful, brickwork, modern. And then we see kind of like these older homes where you can tell it looks a little run down, but still very historic. Whatever. We start walking to the Airbnb, and we notice that the road that the Airbnb is on is cut off by the police. And I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. Maybe if we go around, it'll be better. All of a sudden, we see a SWAT vehicle. And I've never seen a SWAT vehicle in real life. I've only seen it in Grand Theft Auto. So I'm like, the alarm bells are ringing. It's like, you know that episode in The Office where he's like, ring-a-ding-a-ding?
Okay,
Excellent.
don't panic.
All the alarm bells are kind of going.
We haven't made any decisions yet. I've spoken to Josh.
That's how I felt. As I'm seeing the SWAT vehicle go on the street where the Airbnb is on, I'm like, that's a little alarming. So we try to go on another street, it's blocked off. So we come walking back. There's this woman, I don't know her name, she seems in distress, and she asked us if we lived on that street, and we're like, no, we stayed at an Airbnb. We're trying to get there. She's trying to give us directions. But I get this weird feeling, obviously with the SWAT vehicle and the police, that something weird is going on. So I'm like, do you know, like, what's going on this street? Like, is it unsafe? And she's like, I don't know. I think it was a domestic dispute. They said that the husband shot the wife. And I was like, And I'm not trying to laugh, I'm freaking out. So I look at Sam, we walk past her, I'm like, I'm so sorry, I hope everything's okay, because I guess she knew her. And I look at Sam, I was like, we're not staying there. Like, I'm sorry, they have a SWAT armored vehicle, there are police blocking off the road, and when we try to walk on there, the police were like, you cannot pass this. We are tired, we just drove for 4 hours. It's 1 a.m. in a city that we haven't been to in a few years, in an area we haven't stayed in. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Everything happens for a reason. Let's go somewhere else. We called multiple hotels. I don't remember, we were frantic. I don't want to put any blame, but a lot of the hotels had an automated system. It was like, click 1 for guest services. Press 2 for corporate events. Press 3 for reservations. And it's like, when you're freaking out, all you want to hear is like another like human voice. So we called this boutique hotel called the Maj, and I'm going to actually make a separate video reviewing this hotel because it was such a great experience. I don't want to pack it into the story time, because this story time is not it's not a light one. So we call, this lovely woman picks up, we ask her if they have availability, what the prices are. Okay, it's a little expensive, so let's call back. We keep calling other hotels again, automated system, or you have to check in at 5 a.m. Not check in, but they don't have rooms available until 5 a.m. I'm like, I'm not waiting in my car in Philadelphia 4 hours to stay at a place. So we call back the Maj and we go driving. Sam and I are still like, that's wild. We don't know what happened over there, but there's probably going to be a news story about it. Again, it's kind of difficult to find parking. And the Maj is located on the other side of Philadelphia, which is Franklintown, near the Philadelphia Museum of Art. So we drive over. Again, we're driving around and around. But this area looks better. Wider streets, newer conveniences, right? They have Wawa, Whole Foods, different sort of stuff. Okay, cool. Let's just hurry up and find a spot. Find a spot, we walk, we check in. The front desk woman is super nice, very accommodating. We tell her what happened in Northern Liberties. And we're like, is that kind of like a bad neighborhood? Like, you know, we're not from here. It's very hard to tell through Airbnb which neighborhoods in a city are better to stay in and which ones are not. She's like, well, it is up and coming. It's gentrifying, but it's still a little sketchy. Okay, that makes sense. And I'm gonna come back to this point later in the video. But I think that is one of the problems with Airbnb, is that you never know what the location is like until you get there. It might be near every convenience you want, but it might not be the safest area. Anyways, she was very informative, very nice. Told us that the Maj opened in August. It's a small boutique hotel. Everything is through smart technology, including unlocking and locking the door, adjusting lights, adjusting the climate, even the TV remote is through your phone. Very cool. We are grateful for the information she gave us, and we go upstairs and we'll still, you know, whoa, thank God we found this. And she told us that there's usually no availability on the weekends. Like, it's very rare. Like, we got lucky. Perfect. Go upstairs. I'm gracious. Everything looks clean, beautiful. Again, I'm going to be doing a review of the Maj. And I'm like, I need to get in the shower. Like, I need to get in the shower and go to bed. And I'm also hungry, so maybe we'll get a snack. Anyways, need to get in the shower. So I'm about to go in the shower, whatever. All of a sudden we hear, and I'm like, did we like check in incorrectly? Is this not our room? Did the card not go through? What happened? Because it's scary when you're in your room and all you hear is, right? Like, I'm like, Sam, go check the door, go check the door. And I'm like, oh my God, what could happen now? He checks the door, nobody's there. Okay, maybe it was somebody next door, whatever. Take a shower. Well, like, okay, let's go downstairs and get a snack. Because they said that they had like a cafe that was 24/7. Cool, I'm starving, mind you. I'm stressed. We just pretty much dodged a domestic dispute. We just found a place. It is like 2 or 3 a.m. I need to get to bed. We go downstairs, and this is nothing to the hotel, so I don't want you to think that this deterred us or anything. Again, this is a citywide issue. We go downstairs, and the front desk woman is like, did you guys hear anything upstairs? And we're kind of like, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I thought somebody knocked, to be honest. I was like, no, we didn't hear anything. Why? She's like, you're not going to believe what happened. Sam and I look at each other. We're like, what? She's like, a guy, 10 minutes after we check in, mind you, a guy went up to the front area of the hotel, had a gun, shot it in the air like 3 or 4 times. I don't know if he shot the door, but he got a rock, he threw it, shattered the front window or the front door, and like ran away. 10 minutes after we checked in. This man has a gun shooting it in the air. That's what that noise was. And I'm looking at Sam and I'm like, could you imagine if we checked in at like when that guy was standing there and he had a gun and we were like walking to the hotel? Could you imagine that? We missed it by 10 minutes. Wild. The police are there. I guess he came out of a vehicle in the front. They're checking the vehicle. I'm like looking at Sam and I'm like, you cannot make this up. You cannot make this up. I'm like, what is going on? The cop comes up to us. Mind you, we're trying to figure out stuff with the refund with the Airbnb. I'm calling customer service. We're downstairs like looking at everything. Glass is shattered all in the front. We're asking the front desk woman if she's okay. The police come in and they seem nice. They just seem tired. And Airbnb, I'm going to go into this in the next section. Airbnb told us that we needed proof that we couldn't get in to the Airbnb. So he's talking. He's like, you know, what did the person look like? So on and so forth. And he's like, you're not going to believe what happened. Well, like what? He was like, somebody tried to rob a CVS. Again, I don't know what part of the city this is. Somebody tried to rob a CVS. They were unsuccessful, so they went to a local pizza shop, tried to rob it. The pizza shop owner's son took a gun and shot the guy in the face. Sam and I looked at each other and we're like, what is going on? Like, these 3 things, boom, 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 all in a row. And the cop is like, you know, he's, you know, tired. He's probably stressed. And it's like, there's a problem in the city. You know, like if you have 3 shootings in one night, all back to back like that, that's a lot. Sam and I are like, okay, let's just go upstairs. We need to go in the room, regroup, see what happens. Whatever. We go to the room, we're like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? I was like, after that, we're not walking anywhere, we're not exploring any place. We started to look up stuff on the news, and then we were like, we need to stop. The last thing I remember us seeing was carjackings went up by 80% in Philadelphia from 2020 to 2021. By 80%. I always make sure there's nothing in my car. Carjackings went up. Shootings have gone up. I'm like, we're not walking anywhere. We're Ubering everywhere. We're not exploring like we usually do. We're not going to walk around. Nothing. Like, we're staying in stores. We're staying in the hotel. We're staying in the venue, and that's it. And I'm usually not like that. But when you dodge something 2 times and then you hear about a 3rd event, that's it. I'm not messing with that. We go upstairs, we order Wawa, we eat, we go to bed. Overall, we were safe the entire trip. Nothing like that really happened. We didn't get into anything at the rave or anything. But we did look up the news. So the Friday night where we couldn't get into our Airbnb, unfortunately, there was a domestic dispute. The husband shot his wife in the face, and the kids were hiding in the basement. SWAT went in. They thought there was going to be a shoot-off. There wasn't, thankfully. Thankfully, we were not in the Airbnb in that time. Because if there was a shoot-off, you never know it's straight bullets. You don't know if this guy... It happened for a reason. At the Maj, we missed it by 10 minutes. That's nothing to the hotel. It's a citywide issue, right? And then you have somebody trying to rob a CVS going to a pizza shop. So it made me think, let me talk about this story time, how I felt, how I went through it, what things I learned from it. So now that you have the full story, I'm going to go into what I kind of grasped from this experience. And I really want to know if you've ever had any weird or scary travel experiences like this. Let me know in the comments, and let's get into the real discussion of this story. Let's break it down. And I really want to see how travel will be impacted in 2022 and how you should reevaluate it for your family, whether it's a solo trip, a couples trip. Yeah, we're going to get into that. So let's get into the other part of this video. Alright, so now we're going to kind of get into the discussion of, like, when I could finally wrap my head around things, how I reevaluate travel in 2022, and how I reevaluate my ideas of Airbnb and hotels, and then the overall ill effects of the pandemic. I said I was going to revisit this point, but Sam and I did not stay in the Airbnb that we booked. And we couldn't get in. I believe everything happens for a reason. I'm not going to stay there personally. Like, I couldn't get in the first night because it was blocked off by the police. I think that happened for a reason. So I called Airbnb and told them about the situation because the host wasn't answering. Again, it was 1 a.m. I understand. Airbnb said that because Airbnb is not physically in Philadelphia, because they physically cannot see if you could get in or out of the apartment, that they need proof that you couldn't get in. So they wanted a document from the police saying we could not get in the Airbnb from 12:30 to 2 a.m. because of a domestic disturbance down the street. I understand where they're coming from with that, because there are most likely are people who create stories to get their money back. But they also said that it was up to the discretion of the host to give us a full refund or not. Makes sense, because they're the ones setting up their place. If you stay there and then you have a refund and you basically stayed there for free. But it made me rethink Airbnb. And I think I've had some quirky experiences with Airbnb. And I feel like in the beginning, when Airbnb first started, I think it was a great concept. It's cheaper than a hotel, you get more bang for your buck, you're usually in a cooler spot, but it made me rethink the safety of it. Because you honestly don't know these neighborhoods until you get there. You never know the area of the city you're gonna be in, right? You could be like, this is a perfect location. For example, I was the one that booked our Airbnb for Los Angeles for my family and I. I think it was like West Hollywood or Koreatown, something like that. And it looked like it was in a great location in regard to the closeness to it, to the Hollywood sign, other, the Chinese theater, the stars. It looked like it was in a great location, but when we went there, it looked a little rough. It looked a little sketchy. It had an unpleasant odor. Like, of course, cities are gonna have unpleasant odors and such, but that wasn't a place we would ever stay again. But you don't know what the neighborhood is like until you get there. And pictures can be misleading. You're only getting a picture of what the space looks like, not the neighborhood. So it made me rethink, like, the safety of the gig economy, right? Like, Uber and Lyft have had issues with the safety of their patrons because of drivers. And at the end of the day, because they're a ghost company or they're not physically there, are they the ones that should be held responsible, or should it be the driver, right? And that was kind of the case that we were involved in with Airbnb. Is it Airbnb's fault that they're not giving us a refund, or is it the host? Thankfully, at first, the host didn't know what was going on. They were kind of hesitant about the situation we told them about, but then once they heard about it, then they were like, okay, they understood. But I don't know if I want to book another Airbnb in the future, to be honest with you. I think Airbnb, again, was great when it first started, but I think now, especially with the unsettling ill effects of the pandemic, it feels unsafe. I don't know the neighborhood. I don't know the neighbors. I don't know my way around. And people know when you're not from an area, especially now, because on your phone you could have the Google walking directions, and people could see, oh, why are they putting walking directions to go to Wawa or go to the gas station? That's a little weird. At least with a hotel, there's a feeling of safety because there's somebody at the front desk. People, usually it's in an area that's more populated. Usually it's in a touristy area. It's not in, or it could be in a neighborhood, but it's usually in a popular destination sort of place. So I don't know, I want to get your thoughts about that. Do you think my feelings about this issue are in the right place? I mean, I understand that Airbnb is not there and they can't be there physically. That makes complete sense, but it is upsetting when you are in a situation that you cannot control. And they're like, it is 100% up to your host whether you get a refund or not. And thankfully, they were extremely understanding. We did get a refund, but it's also like, what if they weren't? What if they were like, well, why didn't you stay the other 2 nights here? You know, it's kind of a risk that has to be worth taking, and you have to know that as a traveler. So, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to continue with Airbnb, especially with this next point I'm going to bring up. It led me to think, how long will travel be impacted by the ill effects of the pandemic? And even if it's not the variant we are scared of, it might be what I'm about to talk about, which is the increase in crime. I went home and I started looking up things like, has crime in cities increased since the pandemic? And it says crime has increased in major urban areas. Not all. Some of them have decreased. Boston was actually one where crime decreased. But many are experiencing increases in gun violence. So I'm going to put all of the articles down below so you can check them out. Again, I like to cite my sources. This isn't just coming from my head. So the number of killings in Philly is 55% higher than 2019. 55! That's a lot than 2019. Downtown shootings in Chicago are up 220% in 2021. 220%. Miami-Dade County had a violent mass shooting weekend in June, which signaled trends toward more violence in the city. Crime rate in Austin is increasing faster than its population growth, 2021. A lot of urban areas are experiencing this. In many cities, people are fed up. People are tired. And as a traveler, it can be hard to know where to go and where to avoid, right? In past videos I've said, in the US, our choices have diminished. Right? Again, travel is a privilege. We are in a position where we are able to travel, and we should be thankful for that. But our destinations have gotten smaller. Like, our destination lists have gotten smaller and smaller with the pandemic. In my head, I don't even look at international destinations at this point. I don't, because of protests going on, crime, the variant, and also many countries don't want us to be there. We'll consider it a high risk at this time, even if you are fully vaccinated. So now there's only domestic places to go. And again, like in the last video I spoke about, people are leaning more toward nature-y trips, right? Going to the Catskills, going to the national parks, going out west, glamping. Those are increasing. But I think in the summertime or springtime where there's a lot of outdoor dining and it feels safer in a pandemic, people do still want to explore cities. But when crime is up in these huge metropolitan areas, as a traveler, do you really want to go? Do you feel safe? Honestly, again, I went to Philadelphia in 2019. I did not feel unsafe at all. I mean, we walked around a lot. We barely used the car. We went to multiple different spots. Never felt unsafe. Now, it's a different question. So some questions that I might answer in future videos are, will travel move away from urban areas to nature areas for years, if not decades to come? Do you think this might be another kind of fleeing of the city that kind of happened in the 1960s, 1970s of there's a lot of crime right now. Even during the, I think it was 1980s, there was a lot of crime. People left. People didn't want to be there. Our city's suffering from the decline in tourism. I have noticed much more tourism advertisements for domestic areas than I ever have in a very long time. And again, I don't see too many commercials because I watch, Netflix, but I have advertisements through Hulu, YouTube, and I see advertisements for Austin, Texas. I've seen advertisements for New York City. There's a lot of domestic cities that are trying to bring people back in, but are they going to be successful? Who knows? So I don't know if that really answers any questions. Again, I've never done a story time on my channel, but I just want to let you know, just to make sure you always are aware of your surroundings, make sure you know the neighborhood that you're going to, and let me know in the comments, do you feel safer in a hotel or an Airbnb? Has the pandemic made you shift your thinking in this? And make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel because I know you don't want to miss any of my videos, and hit that notification bell. And don't worry, my posts will get more consistent, so I'll see you next week.